let's see who is going to join us. Go ahead and say hello. And I am going to find us over here on the iPad and see if we can't share us out with our friends in the groups. Let's see. There it is. Share and groups. Making sure I'm sharing with the correct groups here. We don't want to have any surprises. There we go. All right, we are officially out there. And now we just wait and let everybody come hang out with us. All right, real quick, we're going to do our housekeeping very quickly before we get into our stamping. Just a quick reminder, we are in the final days of the June subscription period for Paper Pumpkin. So if you're interested in that June kit, I don't have the flyer in front of me because I think I used it for something else last week, for stamping off maybe. But there's a couple days left to get in on that. You do have until June 10th. Hey, Miss Kay, glad you could join. So June 10th is the cutoff, and then we'll be getting into the July, August, and September quarter, which will have brand new dies released with it and all that good stuff. So right now we're still in June, and you do have a couple of days left to get in on that one. May exclusives. We do have the online exclusives that came out. Lots of cute things in this one. This has the silly old bear, the ouch bundle, which we used last week. Splash and relax, and a couple of independent stamp sets that had no dies, like the thoughtful octopus, natural artistry, and just peachy also released. There is another release coming for July, so keep your eyes out for that, and there's going to be some really cute stuff in that. Tonight we are featuring the Scenic Coast Suite, and I did want to mention to you that Stampin' Up does have a craft class that they have released using this suite of product as well. Hey Deb, hey Sherry, glad you could join. And that is on June 18th, featuring all of this product. When you purchase the craft class in the suite collection, you'll be able to stream the class on the 18th at 2 o'clock Mountain Time, or you can view it later on demand. But I just wanted to make mention of that. They do some really nice classes when they release these classes out there. Also, with June, there is a new product of the month. I did tell you it was going to be super adorable. It's called Wild Bunch. It is a stamp set that you can add on if you spend $75 in the online store. You can add this stamp set on for $5, and it is super, super cute. It's called Wild Bunch. You get the little baby cow, little snail, little koala, and the little penguin there, and then you have these nice sentiments and a few little extra pieces like a party hat, a gift package, a floral, and it looks like a little plaid pattern that you could create. So that is that. So now to talk about the Scenic Coast bundle. That includes the stamp set and the die set, which these are really nice, sizable dies. And then, of course, we have our Scenic Coast stamp set, which I think I told everybody when I first saw this stamp set, it was just before Easter. And as soon as I saw that, I was thinking like the tomb is empty. It's kind of a card. I did not get to do that yet today, but that is definitely going to be on my to-do list, playing with the set. I do want to try doing that for like an Easter card. But I did have some fun playing with this, and I'm not even scratching the surface of this suite. Not even close. It also includes the beautiful Scenic Coast Designer Series paper. This is a specialty paper. One side is your typical Designer Series paper, beautiful rich colors, and patterns and designs. But then the other side has this pearlized, I don't know if I can show that. Yeah, there you go. That little area there is pearlized, and all of these patterns have that. So this is pattern 1. Second pattern here. Oops. You can see, there it is. There's that pearled paper. Like I said, love these rich colors and patterns. And then this one, try to get it all in there so you can see it. And then this one, how beautiful that is. We have this one. It is gorgeous paper. Hey, sis. And then this one. And like I said, just absolutely gorgeous. I love this paper. The paper does all of the heavy lifting in this particular suite of product. And it makes making cards so easy. They're so quick and easy that it's almost like, are we really making handmade cards? But we are. So let me show you. Oh, and then of course, these are called the Sunset Sparkle Sequins. So we have all the colors, the fiery oranges and pinks and blues and the white that coordinate with the colors in our paper. All right, so now to set this aside, I'll show you the cards we're making tonight. So we have this one here with the lighthouse, and this says, wherever this note finds you, I hope it finds you happy. And we have our little seashells here, the starfish, and another little shell. And then we have them here done in the strawberry slush. And then these blue ones are actually die cut from the Designer Series paper. So that's where those come from. And then, of course, we have the beautiful lighthouse there and that gorgeous paper in the background. And this here piece that the lighthouse is cut from is also the Designer Series paper, just it's on the back side. So it's really the same paper as what's backing it here. Then our second card here is our sailboat. And this one says the adventure continues. And again, we have our seagulls, which I did cut those out of Secret Sea. We have our blueberry bushel, and then all the different colors and that pearlized bit down in here. So pretty. And then this one just really features a sentiment in our Designer Series paper. And this is called the double vision technique. So I don't know if you can see, but every other strip of the Designer Series paper is popped up. And it's a really simple design that really just, for lack of better terminology, pops. But again, it really does allow the paper to do all the heavy lifting here. And we just added a few sequins to call it good. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our first card here, which is wherever this note finds you. So for this one, I have thick basic white It's 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4.25. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, and we'll go ahead and fold on that score line, just like so. Thanks, sis. I'm glad you like them. Okay, so there's our card base. Then I have 2 pieces of designer series paper, one being 4 by 5.25, and that's going to go ahead and layer on the front of our card just like so. I'm going to bring in my adhesive here. And that's going to layer on the front of our card just like so. Then I have another piece of that same designer series paper, but the back side of it. And I have this cut 5 by 3 3/4. And for this, we're going to need our dies. And I'm using the one with the lighthouse. Come on out of there. There we go. And that's going to line up right about there. Now, unfortunately, because this is still 3 3/4, it's got to be, in order to go through the baby boss, it needs to be 3.5 or less. So this one I'm going to have to run through the big boss. So I'm just going to step aside over here and use my big boss because I didn't bring it over, and run this through. Okay. So we have this. Now we're going to pull that out. There we go. So now let's get these little pieces out of the way. We have our layering piece. It's going to go on just about like so. But before I can put that on there, I do want to do my sentiment, which I did emboss. So we want our embossing kit here. I have my little powder buddy here. And you like to do this. This just gets all of the oils from your fingers, any static electricity that might be in the paper. So that way our embossing powder sticks to only where we want it to stick. So we want our embossing powder. I have my Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink. And we want our stamp. That's not what I want. Okay, this is the one. This says, wherever this note finds you. So we're going to ink that up with our sticky Versamark, which is a clear ink, but it does stay wet longer, so our powder can stick. Okay, looks good. So we want to make sure all the ink transfers to our paper. There we go. You really can't see anything there. but there is ink on there. We're going to cover up our ink pad. And now I'm going to bring in my white embossing powder. And just going to use our little spoon here. So now we have that in place. Cover all this up and get it out of the way. And I have my little tweezers here so we don't burn our fingers. And we have our heat tool. I'm going to let that heat for just a minute. And now we're just going to warm this up and melt that powder. There it goes. All right. So now we've got our sentiment, wherever this note finds you. Cool that for just a moment. And then, told you, this card goes together quickly and easily. And it really, the paper does all the work for you. So there's the next layer. Then I have a scrap of the Designer Series paper, and I wanted this piece that has the opulent texture to it. And I have a scrap piece of strawberry slush. And we are going to cut out our little shells. And the die for the shells, it's literally all 3 shells on one die. So we can cut out our Designer Series paper first. And we're going to bring our baby boss in for this. So there's that. We're going to run. Oop. There we go. So there's those shells. And then we're going to cut out one more time from the designer paper. We're going to bring back the baby boss. There's pop these out. There we go. this back on the magnet so we do not lose it, because I don't want to spend an hour crawling on the floor again this week looking for a die. Of course, I came up with the idea after I finally found the die. Next time I lose a die, I'm going downstairs to get my husband's metal detector. I'll probably find him a lot faster that way. All right. Now, just going to add a little adhesive. Let's try this one first. This one we need to put down flat. And that goes like so. Then, for that one, we're actually going to use a dimensional. And I apologize. I think my husband went outside. And of course, that means Tucker's inside having a canary. How dare he go outside without him? So there's a little shell there. All right. And now our card is not complete yet, because now we got to do the inside. So for the inside, we have the sentiment. I hope it finds you happy. And for that, oops, we need a blueberry bushel. There's our blueberry bushel, and I hope it finds you happy. And we're now going to take our little shells. So now we bring that little component of the shells to the inside of our card, and that finishes our, oh, it doesn't. I almost forgot. We need sequins. But honestly, this card could be done. It really does look nice. Even before the sequins. The sequins just add that little finishing touch. And we're going to do. And these blue ones. Oop. There we go. Now our card is complete. Thank you, Kay. Okay, so that is our first card. And again, super easy, because again, the paper does all the work. All right, card number 2, which is our adventure continues. So for this one, I have a balmy blue card base. Again, 8.5 by 5.5. It is scored at 4 1/4. So we're going to take our bone folder and furnish that folds. We get a nice burnished edge there. All right. Next, we have the blueberry bushel. This is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then I have a piece of designer paper that was cut down 3 inches by 4 inches. And that's going to layer like so. And then I have another piece of the blueberry bushel. This is a square cut at 3 inches square. So we're going to set that aside for just a minute. And we're going to go ahead and layer our designer series paper to the blueberry bushel piece. So again, the designer series paper is 3 inches by 4 inches. The blueberry bushel layering piece is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So we're going to go ahead like so. Okay. And that'll go onto our card on the center like so. But for now, I'm going to take this piece and we need our dies again. And we're going to use the one with the sailboat. So this is going to die cut from here, like so. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our baby boss. I did, didn't I? I have to grab another piece of blueberry bushel. I did forget to bring it up over. All right. But for now, we're just going to cut out our little sailboat. One more time. It goes in the trash. And I'm just going to carefully pull our die. And then there we go. Oh, shoot. I got a little close to that edge, but that's okay. It'll work. All right. So now I'm going to take my piece here. And I got dimensionals. And I think this will just take a little. Okay. And I'm just lining this up with the top of the designer series paper because it is the same width. And it's going to go down like so. So you have designer series paper sticking out at the bottom, and then you see it in the background there. All right. I've also got a piece of Secret Sea, little scrap. And that is for cutting out our little birds. So we're going to come back here, and our 3 birds, again, are 1 die. this one back in. And let me run over and grab another piece of goodness. Out a piece because I forgot to cut a piece for our sentiment, but we are. All right, so let's go ahead and cut out our little seagulls. So again, secret C. I apologize if Tucker is, you can hear that. He's piercing my Ugh. He cannot stand it if my husband's outside without him because he thinks like he should be out there too. And but my husband takes him out there. He thinks, that he doesn't have to follow the rules, and he starts heading off into the woods. So he cooks his own goose. But then I listen to this. All right, now we need a little bit of glue. So we're going to put a little dab of glue here, here, and here. Then we're going to use, take your pick, and it's getting flipped over. There we go. And he is going to go like so. And then trying to get this. There we go. Right. There it is. There we go. Okay, so there's our birds. Ooh. Okay. Then I'm just going to add some adhesive. This is going to go right onto the center of our card base. So only blue. Totally crooked. There we go. That still looks crooked. There, that looks better. Okay, so there's that. Now, we're just going to cut off a little, goodness gracious. Didn't mean to do that. Just going to cut off a little extra blueberry bushel here to do our sentiment. Okay. So for this, again, we're going to use our Versamark. Need our little powder pad here. With all of that extra oils, any thanks, Sherry. I'm worried about it because my ears are being assaulted by the little monkey. Okay, so now we have the adventure. Oh, continues. And we're gonna ink this up in our Versamark. Get all that transferred over. Okay. Finished with that. And then open it up. Oh, this one shows up good in the camera on this blueberry bushel. Yeah, looks pretty good. Cover that. Grab our tweezers. And let this heat for a minute. All right, and we'll heat the powder. You can watch it change. After all these years, I'm still always amazed at how beautiful that embossing is. And I always find myself going, ooh, wow. After all these years. Okay, so we have that. And now I'm using, they did right here. So for this one, I'm using the Nested Essentials dies. And I'm using the number 2 of the rounded rectangles here. So we're just gonna pause. A little bit of Post-it tape. Hold that in place. Like so. Okay, now bring back the baby boss. And there's our sentiment. This back on the magnet. Away. Okay, so for this, I am going to put a couple of dimensionals at the bottom And then for the top, just going to run a little strip of adhesive runner there. And then this go down like so. And then we have those pretty little sequins. And there is card number 2. Now, this was one sheet of card designer series paper that, because I cut it at 3 by 4, I literally cut it in half. So this is just one side, that's the other side of the paper. So it's one sheet to do both cards. So it's an easy way to get a couple cards from each sheet of card designer series paper. All right, now on to our final card, which is our double vision. This one, I only have pre-cut for you. My blueberry bushel card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5. Scored at 4 1/4. We're going to go ahead, fold on that score line, and use our bone folder to get a good edge. I also have a panel of the blueberry bushel that's also cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And an inside piece of basic white that is also 4 by 5 1/4. And I did cut out my label for my sentiment ahead of time. And I did that because I wanted to save a little bit of time on this card, because we are cutting our designer series paper together. So for this, I am using this particular pattern. I love the colors in this, and I think it's just so pretty. We can go ahead and add this to the inside of our card base just so it gets out of our way. So we're just going to add. Well, we probably shouldn't have done that yet, so I was going to put the piece of designer series paper on the. Now we can still do that afterwards. It's not going to be a big deal. So we're just going to go ahead and center that on the inside like so. Okay, so now this panel is going to sit there. Set that aside. We need our paper trimmer. Okay, get this down so you can see. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to get it cut down to 5 1/4, because we want it to be 5 1/4 long. So that's going to be there. And this is the piece for the inside of our card. So we're going to cut that so it's 4 inches wide. So we'll just cut that down, and that'll go on the inside of our card. And that's just an extra piece. All right, so now we need it to be 4 inches wide. But I want to keep my sun, my setting sun, kind of in the middle-ish. So if I were to cut this at 4, it's going to end up being way over here to the right. If I turn it around and cut it at 4 this way, it's going to end up being way over here on the left. So this is 6 inches wide. I'm taking a total of 2 inches off to get it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it to 5 on this side. Then we're going to flip it so it's upside down. And now I'm going to cut it down to 4. So now I have 2 1-inch strips that I can use for another project. And I now have my panel, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4. But now I need to cut this into 1/2-inch strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm using the right side of my trimmer. I'm using that 1/2-inch mark. And I'm going to start cutting. And I want to make sure I'm putting everything in order. So I'm just going to just keep moving, but I don't want to let it get out of order. So as I cut, setting things over here. And again, just keep it in order. You don't want to lose track of your order, because when we line everything back up, all right, one more slice to make. So then this one, get it on that. Make sure everything is all lined up nice and straight. And oops, there you have it. So again, just keeping everything the way it should be. I now have my panel that I'm going to use. I want my liquid glue here. And we're going to go ahead and we're using liquid glue because we want to keep a little bit of wiggle room here. So now this lines up like so. Now I'm going to bring in the second strip, and that's going to butt right up against the first one, but I don't want to adhere that yet. That's just going down for a placeholder. And actually, I think it worked pretty good. And again, you don't want to be heavy-handed with your glue, just a little. Everything's nice and tight. Bring this one in nice and tight. And now you can remove this. But again, make sure you keep everything in order. So then this one comes in, creates a placeholder. And that goes there. Next placeholder. And then whoop, that one comes out. So then these get dimensionals. All right. So now this one. And you might want to use a few extra dimensionals, more than you would typically use in a project, only because you really don't want these to get saggy. You want to maintain that firm. I think that should be good. So now we're gonna, and even though this card takes maybe a little bit of time, it really doesn't take a lot of time, especially if you prepare. So now that goes down. Next, definitely want to make sure you're paying attention to your direction too. You don't want to put them upside down. So there's that one. Next one. It's called a double vision. And it really is kind of a neat effect. And you could definitely experiment with different widths of your strips of paper. The main thing is having every other one popped up. All right, our final strip. You can see how quickly this comes together. All right, and then this is our final piece. So it all goes back together like it was never even cut, but you can see the different. I don't know if you can tell that every other one is popped up. All right. Flip that over. Add our adhesive. This is going to go on the center of our card. There we go. Now this piece is for the inside of our card. And that just goes right down here at the base. Again, that just brings a little bit of the outside in. Then I find that label that I had already pre-cut. And got our blueberry bushel and our happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. And then, because we've got those every other strip here raised, I didn't want to do any more raising, so we just added a little strip of adhesive and added that to our card front. And then to finish it off, we have our pretty sequins. And our third card is complete. Again, the Scenic designer paper here is definitely the star of the show. No denying that. All right, real quick recap. So that's our double vision card. We have our sailboat. And then we did our lighthouse. And so much more you can do with this. I mean, I didn't use this one yet. And I have all kinds of ideas with that. We got our little netting here. There's a little fence. We have the little sailboats that you can add. And again, there's the little cave, the cloud, sun. So, like I said, haven't even scratched the full surface or with the stamp set. I mean, there's this here watery scene. You can literally stamp a scene with this paper, and I wanted to play with the dies. So much more. All right, my friends, this is all I have for you tonight. If you are on my mailing list, you will receive the tutorial in your inbox tomorrow. If you are not, the sign up for my email list is in the description of this video, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. I did include that link. So definitely make sure you're on there and you will get the measurements and all of the instructions for these cards tomorrow when that email goes out. It'll also be on my blog. I always have a link to download the tutorials from there as well. So either place you can get the measurements and instructions and product list for these. Oh, you're very welcome, Miss Sherry. I'm glad you were able to come hang out with us. All right, my friends, that is all I have. God willing, I'll be back next week with some more fun stamping to share with you. And I hope you all have a fabulous rest of your evening and an even better week ahead. Bye for now.